It's about that time.
Pre-record on my count. 7, 6, 5, 4.
Here we go, Roger.
On Insights, two eyes in the middle. INSiiGHTS, where we always talk the talk.
Hello, everybody, and everybody. Hello. Rick's running a little late, but I've done a lot of things by myself before. I come in this world by myself. I hope when I go by myself. Don't nobody else go with me. I ain't trying to take nobody else when I go. But we got just a very, very, very interesting show today. You know, we have some young ladies that have really done some outstanding things. And we think that you need to kind of get to know these people. You know, if it's a list of top 25 women to know, these 3 or 4 young ladies need to be in the top 5. That's how they need to be, because they're making things happen. And one of the things that we want to do on Insights is bring attention to where there's not enough attention. And especially in our community, we just really don't think that we share enough positive. And you all know that people tend to carry the negative way faster than they'll carry the positive. They'll get in a car, drive way across town to Cairo to say something negative about somebody. Just a little bit if somebody say something good. They don't want to do that. But we want to accentuate that. We want to talk about some of the things that are really happening. But before we get into it, from our last show, Tiger Woods still resonating. We're getting people making a lot of comments from the show. A lot of love for Tiger. As we said, Tiger won just by showing up. But one of our listeners, one of our major listeners was telling us that we should have commented more about the fans' admiration for Tiger and about the fans displayed the kind of value that Tiger brought to the game. And, you know, we always share, when there's certain people, whatever they say, we kind of go with. You know, Dr. Miller, sports diva. We got a couple people that when they make commentary, they part of the crew. Then they said that they felt like they went back to Kaepernick and said how the league didn't support him like they supported Tom Brady, how his owner and the NFL supported him back in Deflategate. So they once again just kind of talking about the difference in how people are treated. Well, one of the things that I wanted to share is a little personal testimony. This was an important day this past Sunday. It was Resurrection Sunday. And my church, it was the first time we held service, New Mount Zion, Pastor Anton Elwood. First time we had met in over 2 years. You know, COVID has changed the way we do a lot of things. And we had church Sunday, sunrise service. My God, that thing is early. Only good thing about sunrise service is by the time you get back home, you can get back into bed and catch your 2-3 more hours sleep. But and I did that. Let's not get it twisted. I did. But Pastor Elwood was talking about something, and it really kind of hit me a little bit. I didn't know where he was with what he was saying. Hello to you too. I didn't know where he was, and a lot of you are probably a little bit more versed in it than I am. And the thing that really hit me was when he was talking about Resurrection Sunday, and they were talking about how they were looking for Jesus Christ. And the comment was, as he read it, was, "Why are you looking for the living among the dead?" And it just kind of threw me for a minute, because he went on with some other things, but that part stuck in my head. I never really could understand what that was about. Why are you looking for the living among the dead? Pastor Elwood has a way of looking inside my heart sometimes and saying things that I think my wife told him what to ask me or to say, because he'll say something and I'm like, how did he know? That's what I'm sitting here thinking. I can't be that transparent, even though Dr. Miller might disagree. But what he said was, and his interpretation was that people are looking for you where they thought they buried you. Think about that. That your haters and people who thought they did things that buried you, they looked for you or they thought they buried you, and you're not there. Jesus wasn't there. He had been resurrected. Even with the clothes they had buried in him, they were in a pile inside. And I had just been that day, actually, that Saturday, going through my pile of clothes that I could wear and not wear. In the last 10 months, I probably lost 95 pounds. I've had so many different things health-wise. I had to get my weight down and get it under control. The guys on the golf course say, "Coach, you're disappearing anymore. You liable to disappear. You look like one of them poles over there." But I got so many clothes that I just couldn't wear. And when he said it, it just resonated with me. You've not been tested. You haven't been tried till people really come after you. Each one of us has had our challenges that you've had to survive and come through. And that's the sharpening of the steel. That's what diamond's made from. And you come back, and you come back even stronger. Maybe you don't understand what I'm saying. Maybe you do. Really don't care. Just my testimonial, and it's just what I'm feeling. And sometimes when God tell you to say something, you say it and you let it fall where it may. Now, it may hit somebody that the words I spoke hit you and resonated with you in terms of how people have tried to bury you. But your belief in him makes you stronger. And when they think they buried you, you've been resurrected. You come back even stronger. I just want y'all to kind of keep that in mind in terms of dealing with things day to day. Now, moving on, talking about things happening so positive. If you haven't been following us, you need to follow us because we have INSiiGHTS now has we're having a showcase weekend in June 25th, 26th, to highlight independent singers, artists, rappers, no hardcore rap, comedians out here at Studio 13. We're on an acre. We're gonna put on a performance. You can go to our website, get more information at INSiiGHTS, INSiiGHTS, 2 I's in the middle. You can call us at 850-999-2870 for more information. But on Sunday is Gospel Sunday. So all you gospel singers, entertainers, you'll have your own show. One of the things about it, it's going to be live streamed. The show will be live. It'll be shown everywhere. In addition to, we will have our own network on Roku. INSiiGHTS will be on Roku in the next few weeks. We're actually uploading content. So if you have Roku, it's in 91 million homes. You could put INSiiGHTS in there and watch what we're doing. Now, y'all tell me that ain't him doing his work here, okay? Okay? I know the haters gonna come out even more, but shake them off. Shake them off. Because INSiiGHTS rolling, and we try to do what we do for the community, and we're getting so much feedback nationwide from entertainers that what we're entertaining to do now is to do a virtual one so that they can, we'll live stream it, put it up there. People get a chance to see these entertainers, and they get a chance. You never know who may see them. So on our channel, we're also doing independent movies. We're doing independent videos. We're doing a lot of different things in there. So if you have something that you think will work in programming, get in touch with us. Everybody knows how to reach me. So I'm just telling you, people I don't want to reach me. Now, if you call my number, ask for Michael, I know you're a bill collector. So I would tell him he's not here. Well, who are you? I'm his cousin. If you call a friend of mine, call for Mickey or Coach. Well, if you call for Michael, I know you're the bill collector or you my stepmama, and I don't talk to neither one of them. Okay, moving right along. To tell you about our show again with empowerment and women, we were trying to get a special young lady for the last 2 months on our show. And she was actually one of our Rattlerette basketball players. And I got an invitation last night that said, please come. And this is what I was invited to. I'm going to share it with you.
And guests today, we have the privilege of welcoming our newest senator to the Florida Senate, the senator of the 33rd District, Senator Rosalyn Osgood. Welcome. has many members of her family in attendance. Her granddaughter, Kyla Sparks, her grandson, Gabrielle Sparks, daughter, Jeanette Sparks, son-in-law, Jermaine Sparks, son, Anthony Sheffield, cousin, Trey Sean, cousin, Cheryl Lewis, and cousin, Sharon Borain. Also in attendance and seated in the East Gallery, her former FAMU basketball coach, Mickey Clayton. And members of her sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha. Is that right? So Senator Bracey's no longer the only basketball star in the Senate floor, just for the record. Madam Secretary, please read the certificate of election from the Secretary of State.
State of Florida, Department of State. I, Laurel M. Lee, Secretary of State of the State of Florida, do hereby certify that the following candidates were duly elected at the special election held on the 8th day of March, AD 2022, to the office of member, State Senate, as shown by the records of this office. Senate District 33, elected Senator Rosalyn Osgood, given under my hand and the Great Seal of the State of Florida at Tallahassee, the capital, this 22nd day of March, AD 2022, signed Laurel M. Lee, Secretary of State. The reading of the certification, Mr. President.
Thank you. We will now proceed with the oath of office. The senator and her family, please approach the front of the chamber. The oath of office will be administered by Senator Osgood's son-in-law, Pastor Jermaine Sparks of the Hub 5 International Church. Pastor Sparks is here at the invitation of Senator Osgood.
Right hand and repeat after me. I, Rosalyn Osgood, do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida, that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of State Senator, District 33, on which I am now about to enter. So help me God.
Senator Osgood, welcome to the Florida Senate. The Secretary, please read the proclamation calling the special session and proclamation expanding the call.
Proud of you. You know, we always say Rattlerette for life.
Yeah, Rattlerette for life. And thank you so much, Coach, for the invitation to come to FAMU. It got me out of my environment and all of those suicides and running that snake in the discipline. I understand it now. Thank you for what you've done for me and athletes, especially women athletes, man. We love you.
Roz, we love you so much. I told you before, as a coach, you can't put heart in somebody who doesn't have it. You had it.
Thank you, Coach.
it doesn't get any more significant than that to me for a young lady from South Florida. We recruited to come to FAMU. She's written a book. Roslyn has been through some things. I mean, she's been through some things. I'm not telling anything that she has not told. I mean, she got married out of college. I told her not to marry the guy. She said I should have listened to Coach, but she went through some terribly hard things. She ended up being, she's a pastor. She has a doctorate. She's over the school board in Broward County, president AKA. She's very, very active and very, very successful with what she's done. And I remember an administrator at the university told my wife, said, I don't know what. She said, but she loved Coach Clayton. She don't care what nobody else has to say. She said she loves him and respects him. And you heard her say all that running. Chiquita tell you about all that running our girls do. But she said she understands the discipline and all that it helped her to get to where she is. So that was kind of important. I wasn't going. And she said, please come. And I was like, that magic word, please. And, I'm like, oh, geez, I got to go now. And I'm glad I got talked into going. It really warmed my heart in the reception that we got there for them to clap and cheer and all of them turn around and look up there. And she waved and pointed at me. I mean, it kind of got an old man. But enough about that. I want to bring some other young ladies who are here, been patiently waiting. I'm watching them. They're looking at the information just like you're looking at it. But I'm gonna bring Shaqualyn Shedrick to you. She has the S.H.E Academy, and she's an entrepreneur, founder, developer, creator. Carried on her back. Well, she carries most of it on her back. Her grandmother helped her carry some of it. But she's done an excellent job in mentoring young ladies. Welcome to the show.
There we go. Thank you for having me. And thank you for starting out with a good word. I felt like I was in Bible study, taking my notes. I love a good word. Listen, I have a couple bullet points just from Ms. Roslyn down to the testimony. So I appreciate it. This is how I love to spend my Tuesday night. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for being so patient. We've been trying to get you on for a minute now.
I know. There's been so much going on. We last week we officially turned 3. And so we spent that entire week celebrating our 3-year anniversary. And it was a very exciting time for us. Today, community service is really important to us. And so our girls had a community service event at John G. Riley Elementary School right before this. So I know it took a while, but we're here. And I feel like I couldn't have come on a better day because I really needed this word. So.
Well, I appreciate you. We were just going to be patient until we got you in after we, tried to assist with your spelling bee, and which we thought went over very well. And we're going to talk some more about it, but I'm going to introduce you our other guest. And I don't know why we call her a guest, because she's a regular on the show. She comments on most shows in the background, and she and Rick have this running thing going between Chiquita and Sports Diva. They have this running thing going. The commonality with Chiquita and the Senators, that both of them are Rattlerettes. They both played for me. And we tell them all the time, Rattlerette for life. If they ever need Coach Clayton, Coach Clayton's there for them. And that's what we told them coming in. Welcome to the show officially, Dr. Chiquita Miller.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you great.
Well, my nickname was Spotlight. So now you brought me in this light. So Coach always gave all of us a nickname. And so my nickname was Spotlight. And yes, and I think I probably, lived up to that name.
Oh, okay. That's honest. You
some people might say that. Some people might say that.
Yeah. She liked the light to shine on her now. She wasn't shy about that. You see how she all dressed up now. She liked that light. A fiery little something though. She was a fiery little something from Cairo, right up the road there. Yeah. Teresa Edwards is from the hometown of Chiquita Miller.
Yes, right. Okay. I know it's like the birthplace of Jackie Robinson and Mac Robinson, and then it's like Teresa Edwards, and then I'm so far back.
That's she's so modest and humble. That's just she's so modest and humble. Young ladies, y'all are actually following in some pretty good tracks of some of the young ladies that we have had on the show. We've had the vice president from the LA Sparks on, and we've had Elaine Bryant, Vanessa Woodard Byers on. We've had some very, very, very influential, talented young women on here who like to speak to those of you coming behind them and just try to give you some words of encouragement to be successful in what you're doing. We have a Mother's Day show that's coming up the Tuesday after Mother's Day, and that one's going to be about mothers who play sports and their children who play sports. You know, it's a little different raising an athletic daughter than it is raising a non-athletic daughter. You know, if you don't have a tolerance for what they go through, it's a little different. So we're kind of featuring them. We actually have starting to dabble a little bit in some mentoring for boys. MicknRick Academy. We are gathering information on trying to find a way to be more helpful in mentoring and trying to reach our hand out to be involved to help in the community. That's basically why we do the things we do. But tell me, what made you start S.H.E Academy?
So I am born and raised from Miami, Florida, and I came up here to Tallahassee in 2011. And after graduating, you know, you have that wondering question: do I go back home? Do I stay here? What do I do? And so I decided to stay here in Tallahassee, and I noticed that gap of happiness between what the girls have here in Tallahassee and the way that and not just Tallahassee, in general. You know, this generation, happiness looks very different for them. And I know just what I experienced as a young girl and having the amount of support of women in my corner, in my circle, at my school, in my extracurriculars. I had a lot of phenomenal women who who had that impact on my life. And not to say that it isn't here in Tallahassee, but you can never have too much of a positive influence. And so I worked at the state for 3.5 years after graduating with my degree in criminal justice and psychology. Just like, God, can you help connect me to my purpose, because I'm fulfilling my degree and this is getting kind of boring. And so, you know, he just kind of put it on my heart. And after really praying on it and just stepping on the other side of fear and going with faith, we're now here at 3 years. So I say it was my assignment from God. I asked him to prepare me, and he did just that. And so I'm still learning, still growing, and still evolving along with my girls. But I think this was an assignment from God.
Okay. What has been your biggest challenge?
I would say no, for someone with OCD to not have and for those who don't know what OCD is, we like things, not necessarily perfection, but you know, consistency is important. And so every day in this world, I'm the founder and the executive director. And so I'm the first person in my life to have a role such as this. And when I say that, no one in my family, no one in my friendship circle has any experience or, you know, the education to walk me through this process of becoming an executive director, of building a nonprofit organization, of doing anything that I'm doing. And so I would say my biggest challenge was, and probably still is, you know, not getting out of my way of making those mistakes. And so my OCD, I bring it up because it's very rare that I get excited to make a mistake, but then you learn that these are educational moments. And so if you make no mistake, then you may be doing something wrong. So I would say some of those challenges are really internal. And because I identify them with myself, I make it my mission to help my girls find comfort in it. So it's a battle, but it's also the bulk of my lessons that I teach to the girls. That makes sense. You know, you find beauty in disaster. So.
Well, let me flip it over to you, Chiquita. What made you decide that you wanted to be Dr. Miller? Because that's an arduous task, and you all the way from Cairo to where you are. You in Kansas, Missouri. It's hard to keep up with you.
Kansas. It's Kansas.
Okay.
It's the Twin Cities. That's what throw you off, because I'm in Kansas City, Kansas, and then we have Kansas City, Missouri, and so that's why it confuses a lot of people. I think a foundation and just knowing that you were meant to do something. And I think the greatest thing about all of us being on the call, that we all have a spiritual foundation. So I didn't know what else not to be, but to be something. I agree. I probably didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up, but I knew I wanted to do something. And I've always felt like there was an educator in me. I've always felt like there was a lawyer in me. And I just felt like I needed to do something with it. And coming from a small community, and it saddens me because you listen to all the statistics and everything, and people from fatherless homes, and that's foreign to me. I don't know what it's like to not have a father. And I was 100% daddy's girl. And to have that respect and that support, I think carried me through. And it probably didn't hurt having my pastor living 3 houses down from me. And I think I lived at their house as much as I lived at my house, because we were so close. So I think it's that, we say that, and it's so cliche about that village, but that village is what made us who we are, and we had that solid foundation about education. I came from 2 parents. My father had an elementary ed education. My mother made it to middle school, and that was about it. But in my household, you knew that school was important. You knew that you had options. And plus, I had an entire neighborhood that believed in education and believed in success. So I knew I had to do something, just didn't know what that was. And we tease about athletics and everything. And I was fortunate. I had one of the best high school coaches. I know, Coach, you're the best, but I had before Coach Clayton, I had Cindy Kozlowski, and she was an educator and a coach, and she had a similar philosophy like Coach. She believed in discipline. She believed in education. And so I think those 2 things really just kind of really assisted me. And I cannot forget all the people that supported me. And as we've said jokingly, I was fortunate to be a sophomore, a freshman and a sophomore when Teresa was a junior and a senior. And see, we didn't call them mentors in the 80s. You know what I mean? They were the people that just kind of bossed you around and kind of told you what to do and kind of supported you. Now they call them mentors, right? And so I was fortunate that I had that circle. I had the strong foundation, starting with home life. And then I had that community. And then when I went to school, I had some good teachers. And then in high school, like I said, I started playing sports and had Cindy Kozlowski. And you think Coach Clayton was something. When it comes down to education, you were going to class and you were going to present yourself in a certain way. When we went on basketball trips, it wasn't gym, it wasn't sweatsuits or whatever. We had our colors were red and black. So we had black slacks and red silk blouses. And you're talking 82, And so when we came off that bus, you better believe that we were something. And when we went up to Atlanta in 1982, and no one ever thought we would ever get there, and we won the state championship from little old Cairo. And so I think we have a rich history. I think a lot of it is where we're from. Like I said, being from the birthplace of Jackie Robinson, I think a lot of people forget that Mac Robinson was Jackie Robinson's brother, and he also ran with Jesse Owens in the 36 Olympics. And we've had a lot of other people. My cousin Chris Sheffield, he was one of the first Black quarterbacks at Cairo High. Played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So a lot of it is your surroundings and knowing that you come from greatness and everything. But I would definitely say that spirituality, having that strong family base, that supportive community. I will never forget coming back from Atlanta when we won that state championship. And when that bus drove into Cairo High School and all the people that were there to meet us, you know, it was late, very late, and they were all there. So just coming from that environment, I just don't know anything else. So it's just, it gives you that burst of just what success and the possibilities. You know, I never thought of it as like, and I think it probably helped having Teresa Edwards, because we had so many, when you would come to our basketball games, you know, you think back then in the 80s, you know, a lot of them would follow men's basketball, but with women's basketball, I'm telling you, couldn't, if you didn't come early, you didn't get in the gym, because every coach in the country was there to see Teresa Edwards. So, and she was a humble. So you talk about coach, I had that humble example of what greatness is because of Teresa and my other teammates. And I think that really helps a lot. I can't say enough, but I cannot say enough, but it really starts from home and that spiritual background. And I think everything else can work itself out.
Okay. Well, you both came from two different backgrounds, Miami and Cairo. It couldn't be more different. And Shaquille, I heard you make the comment about coming to Tallahassee. And I think a lot of times it's more big city, small city, more so than people say north, south. But if you come from a major city, when we would recruit, and especially when I was with the boys and they would visit, I say, don't call anybody here country. don't walk on this set, talk, you know, they get off, man, I see trees. Man, we don't have any trees where we from. It's just a country hick place. I said, don't do that. You're gonna end up in a fight. They take that kind of person. You know, but it's a difference in the way it's a difference. I know when I would come to Florida, when I came from Cleveland, the first thing that always got me was that everybody spoke. And up north, everybody doesn't speak to you. And I was walking down the street, this guy says, hey son, how you doing? And I'm turning around wondering who he's talking to, because I'm not his son. I'm trying to figure out who he was talking to. So it's an adjustment. But Tallahassee is really kind of a homey kind of atmosphere, you know, and an absolute great place to raise your family. Shaquan, tell everybody a little bit about your spelling bee, who your spelling bee is named after, and that influence.
Yeah, so I saw the question in the chat in regards to the school. So I graduated from Miami Palmetto Senior High School, where our Supreme Court also graduated from. So shout out to Ms. Kentaji. So our spelling bee was March 5th of 2022, and I am a granny's girl. And so when Ms. Miller talks about that supportive village, my great-grandmother lived in her home.
Wait, stop. You said your great-grandmother?
My great-grandmother.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was 86. 86. And so I'm a great granny's girl. Like I love my entire family, but I love my greats, my great aunts, I don't think I have great cousins, but my great aunts, my great grandmother, and my grandmother, my older generation is who I cling to. And so you talk about that supportive village and those people who were always in your corner kind of telling you what to do. I didn't know I was a mentor until I got to Tallahassee. And so that's why people always ask, how'd you get started? I refer back to my childhood, because who I am today is who I was to my family, to my younger siblings, to my friends in middle school and high school. I've always been this way. I had no idea it was titled mentor. And my great grandmother was a great mentor to me. Every time that I traveled from Tallahassee to Miami, that was my first stop. I mean, gas, of course, but outside of getting gas, I used to make it to 180th Street in Perrine, Florida. And my grandmother knew when she saw that truck pull up in her yard, she would meet me out the door. And so she transitioned New Year's the morning of, so 12:01 a.m. The moment New Year 22 hit, she transitioned over. And it was not unexpected at all. She was a cancer survivor. She had survived chemo and got her hair back and got in good health. And it just took a toll on her. And so I spent that Christmas with her. I made it back here, and she had already told me, like, hey, you know, we have our moments. We have our moments of truth. And so for me, I'm big on peace. You know, I would love to see you continue to live in the way that you are comfortable. My grandmother is a woman who hated transportation. She walked everywhere. She walked everywhere. She may send you to pick up her groceries, but she's gonna walk. She doesn't like to be in your car. She doesn't like to be on the bus. That's just her. She loves her health. And so when she entered this season of life that she wasn't able to do that, you know, she had to become very dependent. She wasn't herself, you know. And so for me to know that she is at peace, and I just kind of hear, see her, feel her daily. And I'm just like, okay, this happened on the first. And this is my mom, she's a great supporter, my family. I have so many, you know, loving supporters in my family of S.H.E Academy, but my great grandmother, that lady right there, she had a lot of one-on-ones. So anytime I thought, oh, let me put together a S.H.E Academy sweatsuit, she was the first person to get it. Any pictures that I can think of, oh, let me send them to her. So that was between her and my mom, she's probably like my number 2 supporter. But when she transitioned over, I'm just thinking, okay, S.H.E Academy is my baby. I always invest my family back into my business. How can we highlight who she is? At her table, the kitchen table, we all know our grandparents or great grandparents, they have a section of their house that is just their house, you know, like that's her part. And so that kitchen table, that was her table. And she's a wordsmith. She loves to do word searches. She loves a good Sudoku. She's a wordsmith. And so I'm just thinking, and I'm like, Blondie G spelling bee. Blondie G spelling bee. Okay, Blondie G spelling bee. Like when I said it the third time, I'm like, okay, we're gonna have a Blondie G spelling bee. And I'm just looking at the school calendar. I'm looking at the different activities that we have planned for our girls. And I'm like, okay, we don't have our first break until the first week in March. And so without even thinking about it, go ahead. We're going to do March 5th. That's a Saturday. And then I really look at the calendar. My grandmother's birthday is March 3rd. Wow. And so things happen simultaneously. And the spelling bee for me was a moment to bring her back into my business and doing the work that she has already done, you know, helping students, both male and female, find that confidence in using their vernacular, you know, helping them understand that, no, we don't always have to use slang, you know, like we can talk, we can have regular conversations, but you too can build confidence in who you are in the way that you present yourself. And so we had our participants come in, you know, button-ups and slacks and just, you know, presentation is important. Like you mentioned, just, you know, getting off the bus in basketball. I did cheerleading. I was a dancer in middle school and high school on a competitive dance team. Shout out to Shatnettes. But they were really, really big on presentation. And my grandmother was the same exact way. When she passed away, I went ahead and bought me some starch. And I said, okay, let me go back and get my crease in my pants again, because that was something she made us do. But having her transition, it spoke and it came so effortlessly. And I think it turned out to be really, really good. The students were able to just challenge themselves. You know, some of them did struggle, but nonetheless, they went to the very end. And our judges were super supportive in the way that things flowed. We had so many hiccups that day, but Mr. Clayton was very patient with us and, you know, just making sure that we were able to recap the event the best way that we could. And so everyone who was involved, even Coach Hank is just, you work with Coach Hank, so you know how he is. But everyone, you know, who understood what this event meant to me made sure that, you know, the value showed across all platforms. And so that's a little bit about the backstory. My great grandmother, that was my best friend, still is. And it was just an opportunity to really pour that love and that support back into the students, even those who are not our students. So, we work with teenage girls, but we always love to reinstill that confidence into males. And so I think that may be an annual event for us.
I kind of assumed it would be.
Yeah, I think that's how it's going to work. Yeah, it'll always be that first Saturday in March. And so I'm really looking forward to next year and seeing how we can apply the things that we learned from the first time around. That's my first ever spelling bee that I attended, that I hosted. I'd never been to a spelling bee. So I give a lot of that glory and that thanks to our judges because they helped us pull it together. It was a really great time.
It was. And we have a comment in the chat room, and they wanted to know, they said to tell you that their family lived on Southwest 183rd Street, 183rd Street.
Okay.
And what's that, Perrine?
Homestead Ave. Well, 103rd Street, 103rd Ave.
I'm sorry, 183rd Street and Homestead in Perrine.
Okay, yeah, that's in Perrine. Shout out to Perrine on the call.
Chiquita, them doggone Miami people always been special, hadn't they?
Listen.
Yes. Oh no. no. Coach, when you were asking about talking on the show, and I really thought about it, kind of came to me this morning about my 18-year-old self. And like we said, we're here now and we're all nice and polished. Education and everything else, but it took a lot to get us here, and I think I'm still trying to be polished or whatever, but we do take different roads. So I think when I think back to what I would say to my 18-year-old self, for one, I would say get out of your own way. I was, like I said, because I think because of the time that I came up and because of my experiences, sometimes you start believing your own hype. You start getting into things. Some of you probably do not know, my freshman year, I tore my ACL. So I thought I was all world. And I met the most incredible man, Dr. Lloyd. And I cannot end this talk tonight without mentioning him. My freshman year of college at the University of Central Florida, I tore my ACL, and it changed. It really made me understand that, you are who you are until you're not. When I was this talented athlete and I could do these things, and I always made good grades and all those kind of things like that too. But I'm glad that I had that person to share, to listen, and to support me during that time as well. So I think as we go back, so the first thing, as I would tell my 18-year-old self, get out of your own way. That is the first thing. The second thing I would say, listen to your mentors, if that's family members, friends, neighbors. And, growing up in the South, our neighbors, our neighborhood, they were all our mentors. They always gave us good advice and everything. So I'm calling them mentors, even though they weren't called that in the 70s and the 80s when I grew up. Do not let fear prevent you from being successful. There are so many things that are going to be thrown at you, just like my knee injury. We have a lot of loss. We have a lot of things that happen or whatever, but do not let fear, because sometimes fear can consume us and take us to a place that's so dark. And sometimes we may not be able to make it out. So please do not let that fear do that to you. And then the next thing I would say is to listen. I can't say enough. Listen to your positive influences. So if you're if you're following or listening to a podcast, if you have that family member, you have that friend, we have a group. And so, Ms. Shedrick, I'm so glad when you said that about your circle. We have a group we call Sister Circles, and all of us have PhDs from different disciplines, and we share and we nurture each other. And when one hurts, we all hurt. If one needs something, we're all there. And so again, forming that positive sister circle. And please remember, you cannot be the smartest person in your circle. If you are that smartest person, you need a bigger circle. You need a bigger circle. And then I think the last thing I would tell myself is everybody's path is different. I thought about it one time, I think for very brief period. You know, you think about the Olympics, you think about playing professional basketball. But I think one of the things that playing for Coach Clayton, he was always a realist. And like I said, and that presentation was key to him. Religion was very clear to him. Let me tell you about Coach Clayton. I know Dr. Osgood was talking about them suicides. I think I probably still own the record for being on the snake the longest. And for you all that do not know the history of the snake, you run up and down the bleachers so it looks like a snake, and you rain until he tells you to stop. And you did not get a break, and you didn't get water. But I digress. But I think I probably still own the record to that. But as we
would probably argue with you about that.
But I think that, you know, listen to these folks, and they've had experiences. They've lived a little longer than us. One of the things that Coach, like I said in the opening, he would give us these nicknames, and they were so befitting all of us and everything. But if you not have a game and not be in class, you know, because you never knew when Coach was coming. So, and you, I mean, no. You had to be in class and be in class on time. And so I think these foundations, so I think when I look back now at my half century plus, I am grateful, just as Dr. Osgood said, she, all the things that our mentors and our coaches and what they did for us made us who we are today and everything. I think even down to following your dreams and everything. One of the things that Dr. Osgood and I share together too, we're both in the same sorority. I got a chance to pledge Alpha Kappa Alpha in Kappa Pi chapter, Kent State University, just saying, in 1995. And I just actually, during the pandemic, got my 25 years. And so I'm excited. So I've been in an AKA for a little while now and everything. So again, knowing that your path is different, but listening to those folks that care about you the most, because in that moment when you're not sure what's happening and everything, and I can't just say Coach, I mean, he had assistants and we had teammates, but again, listen to those folks because they have your best interests. They've lived a little longer than you. And I know, especially when we're talking about mentoring young folks, and I look at them all the time and I just said, just hold on and just, get your education, stay healthy. That's what I tell them. They're like so ready to go to the NFL or the NBA or the National Baseball. And I'm just like, take care of your health first. And get your grades, because you're going to need that to rely on. And I think back to having my injury where they told me I would never play again. And I did get a chance to play a little bit longer with that injury, and actually got a chance to serve in the military for 5 years too. So that's another part of my story. So I am a Army veteran. I was doing Desert Storm. So with all of that, so I will tell you this, Coach, I don't know if I ever told you this, but we're in basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And so so I'm in basic training, and, basic training is all about training you for combat. So you have your PT test with your push-ups and sit-ups and your running and all these other pieces that you do or whatever. And I was like, and everybody's saying, why are you such a good runner? And they're like, why are you such a good runner? And to the point that I was like a road guard. So I didn't even run in formation. I would lead the group and serve that, because I was like, so basic training was nothing to me because of my experience and being a Rattlerette, and because we were disciplined. If we were, like Coach said, we may lose games, but it's not going to be because we're not in shape. And so when I went into basic training in the military, I was definitely one of the fastest runners in my unit, and that really helped me through. So again, just to all of you that are listening today, even adults or whatever, find a circle. Find a mentor. You're never too old to have a mentor, and give back. There's a lot of organizations to volunteer, to share some funding. So I guess that's it. But I wanted to share that little part about my little 18-year-old self.
No, that wasn't a little part. That was significant. And I'm sure Shaqualyn agrees that, the students that we have need to hear exactly what you said. And that's how you ended up with us, with Dr. Lloyd, and he called me. And he's like my big brother. When he told me he had somebody, then I had never seen you play, but I went completely based on what Dr. Lloyd told me. And again, he's always served us right out of that area. You need to give him a call and just surprise him and say hello.
I know, right?
He'll watch the show tonight. I always send it to him.
Oh, great. So send it to him so he'll see that I said hello. And because, you know, we need to give our flowers. And I know, you know, Ms. Shedrick, you shared about, you know, losing, you know, a loved one. And so we've had so much loss. So I know my mom would always say, give me my flowers now. And so I'm just glad to have this opportunity, but I could not get off the call without acknowledging some key people in our family and our siblings and all the support that we get, and these community people that didn't know anything about us, that, you know, that came in and supported us in times of need.
And I want to say something. I'm turning this a little bit inside. You know, when my time comes, those of you, I don't want anybody sad. I don't want anybody upset. I don't want to tear. I want y'all to be like, man, Coach Clayton did that the way he wanted to do it. You know, he done said later for y'all, and he going to see the person he meant to see. I don't want y'all upset. I don't want that, because I've lived my life, still living it. You know, we're still growing insights. We're still doing things. My daughter told me one day, she said, I ain't never seen nobody retire work as much as you do. But that's who I am. And Chiquita, you and I have always been on the same page on so many things. And I'm sitting here with some specific things I wanted to ask you.
Okay, sorry.
No, you wouldn't believe that you have answered pretty much all of it in your oration. I'm just sitting here, I'm like, okay, you might see me. I said, well, that she didn't answer. Okay, she didn't answer that one. You know, and I was actually going to ask each of you if there was somebody you wanted to give a shout out to. See, here we go, and say thank you to them. Even if they're not here, you haven't had that opportunity to say thank you to them, because you know, like I know, they hear what you say, even if they're here or not here. Those words go on. But Shaqualyn, anybody you want to say thank you to or shout out?
Absolutely. I would always, you know, give as much glory to God as I can. I feel like there's not enough breath in my body to thank him, but God, my great grandmother for starting my lineage, all of my great grandparents, honestly. But I have a very, very supportive village, and I have very active parents who, I mean, just instill so much value, so much direction. My dad, his method of discipline, I did not understand as a young girl, but now, I mean, I give him his flowers often. I'm just like, you know, it did not make sense to me then, but I completely understand some of my mannerisms. They come from none other than him and my mom. And so I'm always grateful to my parents for loving me and supporting me even now. I mean, some days I wake up and I'm like, ooh, a Zelle, I got a deposit, one of my bills. You know, I mean, and that's random, but I'm grateful. My siblings, I have a nephew who I love like my own. I mean, my village, my friends, my team, everyone who joins me as a volunteer for their internships in whatever role with S.H.E Academy, everyone who's ever donated to S.H.E Academy, blessed us with loving, kind words, those who pray for us, those who pray for me, you know, those who have ever taught me, you know, who's ever poured into me and has given back to not only myself, but S.H.E Academy and our girls. I'm grateful to everyone that loves me and who supports me, you know, who takes that time and sees the vision in me. And even if we don't meet or have those conversations and relationships now, but who just keep me on their radar. I'm truly, truly grateful to everyone for that. And like Ms. Miller said, I mean, you have to broaden your horizons. You have to add value to your circle. And it may get a little tricky, but, you know, you keep God first and you pray and you act on that discernment. You know, most of the time we feel something in our stomach, and that's God, you know, telling you either yay or nay. And, you know, trusting him, building that relationship with him. That way it's easier to identify right from wrong. Not wanting like, oh, I think no. You will know. He will make it very, very clear to you. And so I know this was about thank yous, but I'm always wanting everyone to know, like, it always be teachable. You know, we don't know everything and you can learn something from every lesson, but definitely shout out to my parents, my village, my S.H.E Academy family, and my God.
Well, one thing I always pray for is discernment. You know, I ask him to show me people who mean me no good.
Yeah.
I don't mean anything to happen to them, God, because they may be feeling like they're Christ-like, but just show me who they are so I know how to deal with them. And Chiquita, you've seen us how we operate. We speak to a lot of people, but it's not a lot of people that I call close. You know, those
Right.
when you have a lot of people that are close that you call friends, they're going to disappoint you because you put too much confidence in them, and that's not who your faith should be in anyway. And a lot of times he shows you who they are so that you will know who they are, so that you'll know down the road with what he has planned for you. Just because they started the journey with you doesn't mean they're going to end the journey with you.
That's
if
true.
you go back and continue to do with them, my God speak to me. He said, boy, I tried to tell you.
I hear him just like that too. Like, I told you. I mean, he just not. Sometimes he's not even nice no more. Like, didn't I just tell you not to go over there, not to do that?
That's the ghetto Lord. He in a way that you can understand. He might not.
Right.
Boy, I told your behind you shouldn't do that. Now look at you. Don't come to me. I tried to tell you. I ain't got no words for you. You're completely on your own. I have one more question. Dr. Miller, I'd like to ask, as being a doctor, have you found some doors open for you a little bit easier in any way or more difficult because you're a Black female that they kind of look at you like, who does she think she is? Share something.
Well, I think the receiving the doctorate, I think, was just that, the cherry on the top, because I think working in those connections and having those things in place, and again, having that circle. So I always had people around me that had advanced degrees and just kind of mentored me along the way. And I think it also helped too. I've been on my job. I work for Kansas State University, and I'm at K-State Research and Extension. So I'm an account extension agent. I've been on my job for 22 years. So I think so having that foundation already, but just having, those connections. I was talking to my new director today, and the first thing she said to me, I hear you are the connector. And one of the things I told her, I said, I'm connected, but I'm connected with people that are meant to do good. I don't know, because I deal with the most vulnerable populations. And so I have a homeless person. I don't need to call 10 people. I'm calling to the director. Do you have room right now, or domestic violence shelter? And so, I think the PhD, to be honest with you, it just kind of goes back to that cherry on the top. And I think it gives you, I guess it does give you that, a distinguished pleasure of saying that you are a doctor. I still look at my student loans and I'm like trying to, and you think about those things. And I think as we think about education and those opportunities too, you always want to look at funding. But I think for me, the PhD just kind of, it finished what I always started in that foundation. When I finished up my undergrad, that was for my dad. The master program was because I had a little extra money and it was paid for. And then after working for a few years, and I'm like, what else do I have left in this world to do? And then I said, and I knew coming from that foundation of from education and everything. So I was like, let me try this PhD. And to be honest with you, Coach, I should tell you the true story of the PhD, but really quickly, I was working on the same job that I'm on right now, but it was during somewhere around between 2007 and 2008. The economy just kind of sunk. And they basically said that, your office may dwindle down. At that time, it was like 6 agents and it would probably go down to like 3. And so I was like, well, in K-State will pay for so many classes. So I was like, let me go back to school in case I don't have a job. And really, to be honest with you, that's how it started. And then, I maintained the job. We got funding. Thank the Lord for that. And I just woke up one day and it was dissertation time. And so I will tell anybody, if it's your dream, and I will say this very clearly, this advanced degree is not about education and how smart you are. It's about discipline, it's time, and support. I'm gonna say that again. It is not about how smart you are. It's all these factors. I had people that, were, they didn't work full time and they took a sacrifice for this. So it's a sacrifice. but having that supportive community around you, and those times when you just want to scream and you need those that additional help. So anybody that wants to pursue a doctorate, I will never tell them not to. Just know why you're doing it and do something with it. So if that doctorate is going to open a door, if it's, and I'm on so many boards, community boards, so having me on your board is going to get more fundraising, or if I knock on a door versus you knocking on a door. So use it, give back. So whatever you do in life, I can't say enough about that. I don't care how high you think you are, but if you don't give back, you don't have anything. You've done nothing. So so I will say that it is important for advanced degrees, but if you do nothing with it, if you have no purpose,
I got you.
It's just some letters. That's all it is. It's just letters.
There's so many layers to what you young ladies have talked about on here today. When you get a moment, go back and watch this again, because there's some deep stuff in here. And I think that each one of you have said some things that the other one kind of resonated with them. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know Roz, or you get a chance to meet her, she's Chiquita said, she's down to earth person. That's who she is. She's been through something. She does not hide that. If you were gonna follow a political career, you had to make sure that every skeleton in your closet was out, because people will look for it. And she unveiled them and put them out there on display, so nobody could say anything. She wrote her own narrative, wrote her own story. Okay, this is what I did. This is what I was involved in. This is what happened. Okay, deal with that. This is where I am now. That was me then. And there's a lot in her story. And there's a lot in each one of us. You look at people all the time and you always think that they've done something and they might have arrived, but you don't know the journey they traveled to get where they are. And the stuff that they've gone through. You don't know that. I would ask my grandmother, I said, you and granddad, y'all had a really great marriage. Boy, we ain't had no great marriage, nothing. Let me tell you about your granddaddy. Let me tell you what I had to do to get him straight. Mm-hmm. That's when you get the real story. Yeah.
That's that wisdom. I love them because they have some unconventional stories and testimonies.
They the ones know all the history in the family too. Mm-hmm. They know everything, and you have to start with anymore. Well, how'd you meet granddaddy? Don't. Grandmama gonna tell it. Granddaddy he might get up and go smoke a cigarette or something. Grandma said, well, you going out the door now? You don't want to stay on the porch. You don't want to hear what happened? You don't want to hear about that girl you had and I took you from her, huh? You don't want you want to keep that secret. But come on in here. Go on and smoke that cigarette. The story a long one. When you get back, I'll still be telling it. So it's a story. But I want to say thank you. I appreciate both of you.
Oh, look at Rick. Rick doesn't have anything to say, and now he sees me face to face. He doesn't have anything to say.
Hello, Dr. Miller. How are you? I did want to pop on and at least say hi to y'all. I apologize for being late. I had another function I had to attend. So, but thank you for being on. And I can't wait to rewatch the show because I want to hear what you guys said.
Chiquita, don't wake it up. Like you said, now he see you face to face and you made him speechless.
See, coach, see.
See, between you and Sports Diva, and then y'all be tag teaming on him.
I know. Where's my Sports Diva? Come on, I know. So I know she's somewhere lurking.
Yeah, but she been commenting on here. She said something on here earlier, but I think it was a shout out to you. But this just kind of some of the narrative, Shaqualyn, that goes on, because we on every week, and we talk about a host of different things. And we have some regulars like Dr. Miller who ask and make comments and mess with people. Sometimes we're entertaining and we're telling jokes, and other times we dealing with issues. It just kind of depends. As you can tell, we don't write a script. We don't tell people what we're even covering. This is what it's going to be about, and we go from there. I have a general idea of the questions I might ask, but it basically goes on what you say to me. And it might take me in a whole different direction. We just like a natural flow of information.
I love it. This was a really good. This was a really good way to spend a Tuesday night.
Well, join us again. We're always here.
I will. He does. And I've subscribed. So
Right.
I mean,
Get in there and start chatting with us.
But I'm not, I mean, I know I can learn a few things about basketball and just sports in general. So yeah, I have some time on Tuesdays and I just have it playing and just chit. I'm over here in the comment section.
Well, we appreciate it. And we talked about so many things outside of sports and how it's related to different things. And we've stayed on COVID. You know, we've had people come on and talk to us about the need to get vaccinated and the rise in numbers. And we've had some heated discussions about that. I mean, we were in the Florida Senate today. And my assistant and I were the only two people in the whole building with masks on.
Wow.
In fact, somebody asked me if I was sick, and I was like, "No, I'm not sick, but I don't want to get sick either."
Right.
You know, these Republicans and following DeSantis, and they want to act like COVID doesn't exist. And we know
I just saw the headline today about it not being mandatory for airlines now.
Airlines.
I'm
gonna be in my mask for probably throughout 2022. Maybe I hope to relieve it in 2023, but it's definitely going to be on for the rest. I mean, most of the year. But I think a lot of people, like you said, it's just, you know, they just view it differently, and they just kind of look at. I had a guy. He looked at me. He goes, "Well, I'm vaccinated," and I just looked at him and I said, "This is not about you. This is my journey. I have to protect myself. I have to keep myself safe." And then he just kind of looked at me, and he was fine after that. But I think it's almost like I feel like I'm like having to qualify why I'm wearing my mask now, because everybody else is just so free with their mask. And I'm like, this is my journey. This is my story. I respect you, respect me. And I think that's been my mantra throughout. And just, you know, because like you said, it's not going away, you know, all the different cities and everything. Coach, I did want to thank another person and he has passed. So, and I didn't get a chance to give him his flowers when he was alive. But Mr. Mitchell was a teacher in middle school that kind of introduced me to basketball. I was just awkward kid about the same. I don't think I grew an inch more in high school. So I was very awkward, very young. And I was like, what is this basketball thing, you know? And he just kind of put me in a class with a lot of the athletes, and it was a PE class, and he kind of gave me that introduction, and I really wish that I could have said thank you to him, because I mean it was a game changer for me. And I think a lot of youth, I think athletics get a bad reputation, but a lot of us are truly, and I'm going to say this, we are student athletes. Not all of us are just there, just kind of hanging out because we have a talent in basketball, but or other sports or whatever. So, and he just, you know, he was my introduction, and like I said, it changed my life. A lot of us come from different backgrounds, and my parents, even though I had both parents, you know, but they couldn't afford to send me to college. It's no way. They wouldn't have had money to send me to college. And so basketball was my way out. And it was nice to have that. And I think a lot of people sometimes we don't associate that with having your tuition paid, having your room and board paid, having your books paid. And I think any other student that's out there struggling now, they're like, let me pick up a sport. So I think that we need to really help people understand. And I wish that we could go back to more of that old school thinking, that let's put education first. Let's get the foundation on sports, and then and go from there, instead of just saying, okay, now I'm 3 and I already got an agent. You know, I'm 3 and I have an agent. So it's like, you know, I just wish that paradigm, and I just don't know if we're just too far gone and we can't come back to that now. But I just wish that people would, you know, because I think people, when they hear that I was an athlete, they're like, what, you're a baller, or, you know, whatever. I'm like, why are you looking at me like that? It's like, you know, we all come differently. So I think, again, respecting that and knowing that, you know, we can be a really good student, and we can be a really good athlete, and we can be really good mentors. And I think we need to be all of those.
Well, thank you. Those words are heartfelt.
We know that, Coach Clayton. Yeah. Remember showing up in the class? Yeah. That was you. Yeah, we know.
Yeah,
We
Coach,
know academics. Oh yeah.
Coach Clayton walking around. Coach Clayton checking classes, and they.
Yeah. And that was before cell phones, folks. You couldn't text somebody. You can't text somebody. You got to run down a hall or sneak out the back and try to get to the next and make sure you're in class.
Yeah, we and how we dressed and had to carry ourselves. I mean, it was just something that we wanted to do. We thought it was important in terms of the discipline in our program and the image we wanted to portray. And a lot of times, Shaquille, we're talking about stuff, and people learn something they didn't know. You know, and sometimes we trying to figure it out ourselves because we don't know. And we try to stay away from negativity, you know, with negative stories that are going on and things. The press will always run them. You know, that's not where we try to be. We try to be on the side of doing positive, to encourage, to motivate, you know, to educate. That's what we do. And we, you know, we'll continue to do it, and contributors like you. And if we continue to support each other, you don't know the number of people we have on here that don't follow us. We follow them on social media. They don't follow us. And how do you be on the show and try to push the show, but you don't follow the show? You don't even know when we come on, you know. But we try to push everybody. And as a result of what we've tried to do, God has continued to bless us. And we continue to grow in ways that we only dreamed we would get to. As we said, we got our Roku channel. We have our own network. We'll be on 24/7. We're providing opportunities for people with content to be able to put their information up there, to be able to do some things. So that, I mean, that's what we're doing. I mean, we've been blessed to be able to do it. It's a dream we had. COVID slowed us down. And man, once COVID started to clear a little bit, I got some of this weight off, and man, I got that in me.
Hey, Coach, I got to do one thing to torment Rick. Since he always talking about that fraternity of his. You see it, Rick?
You know, I have special love for the K's. I have special love. One of my closest friends who I've known for almost 50 years is a K, and that is my love. So I have nothing but love for the K's.
As it should be.
Right.
You know, although my first love, I have to admit, is a Delta. Hey, Dr. Brown, love you, baby. But no, love for the K's too. Love. Mwah, Dr. Miller.
And Dr. Miller, Sports Diva, came on, said, Dr. Miller, Shaquille, thank you for sharing your journey. We appreciate y'all. We want anytime, you know, you're welcome to come back. We appreciate you doing what you did to come back with us. And we're going to close this show.
From Insights. Visit our website at INSiiGHTS.com. 2 I's in the middle. INSiiGHTS.
Insights is a copyright of Mac4 Enterprises, a Florida corporation. This broadcast is produced under the exclusive ownership of Mac4 Enterprises and is the intellectual property and trademark of Mac4 Enterprises. Comments of the host and other individual speakers on Insights represent their independent thoughts and representations.
Yo, Ski.
Thanks for coming.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thanks again.